So today our topic will be Java Access Modifiers. People who are here from the C++ background, they're only familiar with three types of access specifiers that are private, protected, and public. But in Java, they're termed as access modifiers. Also in C++ we use access modifier as the terminology, but access specifier is preferred more over there. But in Java, we have four kinds of access modifiers. The default is an extra in Java, which is not in C++. In C++, if we do not specify any of these access modifiers, the default is the private access modifiers. But in Java, if we do not define the access modifier, it's taken as the fourth one, that is the default access modifiers. So in Java, we can make classes as public, protected, and public. But in C++, we're only allowed to make methods as private, public, and protected. Like we could not declare classes in C++ as public, protected, or private. But in Java, we could do that. In Java, we also categorize classes on the basis of outer and inner classes. Here we're gonna see how we categorize classes as inner or outer class. So here we define a class tutorial, and we define another class inside tutorial. Could be any class, but for now keep it as a default class. So it could be an example class. So this example class is an inner class, and this tutorial class becomes an outer class. Now the thing to keep in mind is outer class could only have two types of access modifier. This class tutorial could either be a public class or it could be a default class. It could never be a private or a protected class. But the inner class could be either private, could be protected, could be public, or could be default. In a file name, we are only allowed to define one class as a public class. That is defined here as tutorial. This public class name is same as the file name. We could not define any other class as public here. This would be considered wrong, but it doesn't mean a package will only have one public class. It could have multiple public classes with different file names. Now as we move forward, we could see in Java we could also define member variables and functions as private, protected, public, and default. So when members of the classes are private, they cannot be accessed from outside the class body. So when we define an data type X, this is a default variable. We could make it as a public, private, protected. For now, let's keep it private. Here we could define a method that is run, that could be either private, public, protected, or default. But when run is defined as a private method, it could only be accessed by the classes defined under tutorial. If a class is defined outside the tutorial, this class will never be able to access this method. So a private method could only be accessed within the boundaries of its classes. So when the members are protected, they can be accessed from any class of the same package and the child class from the other package. So what really happens is, when there is a concept of packages in Java, watch my previous videos, but here if we define this class as protected, this method is protected, And this method could be accessed here by an outer class that is not within the boundaries of this class, could also be accessed by the classes that are present in different file in the same package, but it could also be accessed by the child classes of other packages. But when the members are defined as public, they could be accessed from anywhere. You don't have restrictions. This is the most flexible class. But when the members are defined as default, they could only be accessed within the same package. If you define an other package, you'll not be able to access this method from that package. So this is basically the difference between the protected and default. Default methods could not be accessed from other package, but protected methods could be accessed by the child class of other package.